So, Tania, when did you first realise that autism was part of your life?
Through positive people who I came to see after an unfortunate end to my last employment. I was having therapy and it came up during therapy, which was quite a shock as I wasn't expecting it.
How did it come about, knowing that you had autism?
Just through the therapy that I was having, there were some sort of situations or things that I appeared to be having difficulty processing. Lots of kind of little very subtle things. I'd never thought of it as autism because obviously, like a lot of people, I had a certain image in my head of what autism was about. And these were quite subtle signs which also apparently women mask a lot of the time, and it's not maybe sometimes as apparent as it would be in somebody else.
So Tania, how did you feel once you'd had the therapy and the therapist had suggested that you have an assessment for autism?
Quite shocked and not really knowing whether I wanted to go ahead with it or not. Spoke to people at Plus Positive people who were fantastic and offered to pay for me to have this assessment because I couldn't move on through the therapy until this had really been done. I felt quite scared about going to have it done and apprehensive and what it would mean for me if I was diagnosed, but I suppose in the back of my mind I thought I wasn't. So I went along for the assessment, which was some phone calls and a one-to-one assessment, and they told me that yes, I did have autism, and it was a big shock, and it did make me question what on earth I was going to do next, where I could go, and I felt pretty lost, to be honest, and quite isolated.
So Tania, so what support was given to you after you'd had that diagnosis?
There wasn't really much support, to be honest, and that wasn't a fault of the practice. It's just they diagnosed you, obviously, if you were an adult. There was plenty for children, obviously, with education, but other than the Plus Positive people and yourself, who were brilliant and offered me phone support and meetings whenever I wanted to talk things through, there wasn't anything in the local area. I was given a list of websites for autism and some book titles, but there was nobody that was kind of going to do a follow-up to see how it had all worked out and how I was finding things. So it was pretty much being given this quite massive thing to be told and then left to kind of get on with it.
And I do feel that as the Plus Positive people, that's something that we've learned and it is being put into place.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to hear that. Because you do.
So there will be more for people like yourself to move into, help with employment.
I think that would really help because you do feel very alone with it. Obviously you've got friends you can talk to about it, but there's still a lot of, I guess, issues around people that have got ASD, and a lot of people think Rain Man when you say autism.
So Tania, where are you now? Are you job hunting?
I had a lot of issues with trusting people. I had a bad end to the last job that I was in for nearly 8 years with some pretty horrendous people. Obviously, I'm quite a shy, closed-off person, which is possibly an ASD trait, but I find it difficult to be in big groups of people, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, when I was diagnosed, we then had the pandemic, so there was nowhere that I could sort of get used to being around people again. So at the moment, I want to try and get back into doing some volunteering to just basically get me used to people and having conversations and being around people.
If you could talk to a group of employers and offer them some advice, what would you suggest they could do to break down the barriers?
There's quite a lot that goes on, obviously, for a person, a neurotypical person that goes to an interview, but for somebody that's got ASD, you've got an awful lot of factors coming in terms of noise levels, lighting. If you're in front of a panel of maybe 4 or 5 people and one of them's fidgeting, my brain will start to think that person's not listening, or I'm really boring, or a whole other process will start taking place. So probably to make somewhere as calm and as informal as possible, if you've got people behind a desk writing things, obviously they've got certain questions to ask, but that's really unnerving because you're wondering what they're putting down about you. In terms of things in actual working environments, particularly in offices, if you've got a lot of sort of bright lights, open plan, lots of people talking, it's very, very difficult for you to concentrate, and to be able to have the opportunity or the place to be able to go and be quiet and by yourself so that you can actually concentrate. Things like having a radio on in the background would be really difficult for me to kind of work with. So it's little things like that, and being in big groups of people, or just, I think probably the smaller and quieter and calmer you can keep it, the better. But I've worked in places where there is so much going on that your brain just starts to freeze and you can't concentrate on what you're doing. So there's a lot of sensory overload that goes on. So it's difficult because you obviously appreciate that financially a lot of employers are restricted in what they can provide for you. But somewhere that you could maybe go and be quiet, and it could be somehow got across to the other employees that you weren't bunking off or you weren't trying to skive, but just somewhere when it all gets a little bit much or loud, you can go and just be quiet for a bit, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, just to sort of almost like, for want of a better word, take time out. And also a level of understanding and kindness. A lot of people with ASD, and myself included, are quite emotional, get quite teary, hate confrontation, so all that kind of stuff. Lots of little things, and it differs from person to person. But on the whole, I would say somebody with ASD would really struggle with a lot of noise and a lot of stuff going on.
Thank you so much, Tania, for sharing with me today.
Thank you for all your support.
That's
and
okay. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think it's about communication
It is all
and
about
understanding
communication.
and being a bit kind to people.
Yeah,
Really.
you are completely right there.